walking down a winding road. I see the sun that glows in every crack, in every stone where wildflowers grow. The whispers of the wind, they tell a tale of time. Every broken heart's a lesson dressed in quiet rhyme. Tangled heartstrings pull and tear, they guide us through the haze. Every note a melody that plays through all our days. Find the strength in every chord, the courage to let go. Life's a song we're writing slow through highs and every low. The river runs its course, it bends but never breaks, just like the choices that we make, the chances that we take.
From my father? That's kind of tough. I feel like I got better advice from my mom, but yeah, I feel like just communication ultimately is like the biggest thing in a relationship, and something that we both definitely bring to the relationship.
Yeah, awesome. How about you?
I think for me it's not giving up, being effective, or instead of sticking up. Compromise, I think. Like, kind of, if you like something and I'm not fond of it, I'll still go and do it. And I think it's like kind of important to switch it around so you're not like constantly annoyed if someone's doing something.
And sorry, Dad, because I got to put you out there. But my dad said, make sure that he can take care. And my dad has always been a stand-up father. He's made sure that I've been given every opportunity and education and experience. So he just wants to make sure that I end up with somebody that does the same.
So, sorry, Dad, but mine has been making sure that she can hold her own. Right? Not, having to depend on a man or anything. So just making sure that, like, hey, whatever she brings to the table, you can offer that as well. So if you are bringing X, Y, and Z, she brings X, Y, and Z, and not just X.
So for this question, I feel like our dad doesn't really talk to us about relationships.
Yeah.
So I feel like yeah, we don't really talk about that.
I guess mine was like, don't get pregnant.
Don't get pregnant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another good one is if I like girls, go for it.
Yeah.
First. communication second.
Yeah, like, you know, it wasn't always, you know, like a good example, you know, but I feel like, you know, they did their best, and I think now that I'm an adult looking back, I can see that. But yeah, definitely like anger first is never the way. So
Probably like expect him to do everything for me.
I understand.
It's probably the worst things. I think it's better if it's like more 50-50. He still does a lot, but I'm like definitely lacking on something.
I hear that. So it's more like an 80-20.
Yeah.
It's probably the worst thing was probably he was like, because he followed up with don't get pregnant, and then the other one was like, I would rather you date a woman. So I didn't get pregnant.
I don't know. I feel pretty open about like that kind of stuff. I think that's where communication comes in. Man, a deal breaker.
Nothing like don't do Monopoly on the weekends for real.
I mean, like open-toed shoes. I feel
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hate thong sandals, so we're all right
Same.
together.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great answer. I'll take that one too.
Some of the stuff like cheating
Okay.
stuff, because I think that's a big deal breaker.
Well, communication is definitely a deal breaker for me, or lack of communication. So I think that's a glaring one. You can't be constant communication with the person that you're dating. What's the point?
Yes. How about you, Jay? Red flag, I would say, is communication as well. Just being transparent and upfront with the person and letting them know, hey, you know, I may or may not be able to get to the phone left or right. So, hey, here's my communication. Racism, awesome.
I think the biggest deal breaker is probably just like communication. Like if we can't communicate, then I don't know how we're gonna work. You know, like if you can't communicate with me and I can't communicate with you, like this is not gonna work out. Yeah.
Broken amazing.
Yeah, broken amazing.
Broken amazing. Okay. Damn scooters not cutting off.
Most embarrassing thing, somebody pulling out their work ID that happens to be an ice badge.
Somebody telling what my job is to complete strangers.
Silver thread through symphonies of sorrow and the words we've left unsaid. Tangled heartstrings pull and tear, they guide us through the haze. Every note of melody that plays through all our days. Find the strength in every chord, the courage to let go. Life's a song we're writing slow through highs and every low. Yo, it's the echoes of the past, the lessons in the cracks. We're patching up the holes in all the love we lack. Life's a dance, a crazy chance to waltz beneath the moon. Keep the rhythm steady, cause the dawn is coming soon. So take a bow and play your part, no matter how it stings. The world will turn, the tune will change, but love's what always clings. The violin, it softly cries, the stars begin to fall. Through tangled heartstrings we will rise, we'll conquer after all. Tangled heartstrings pull and tear, they guide us through the haze. Every note a melody that plays through all our days. Find the strength in every chord, the courage to let go. Life's
Hey guys, happy Father's Day and welcome back to another week of Untangling Your Heartstrings. This week, though, we are going to focus on how we can help you be a better dad, whether you are just becoming a dad, married into it, or you think you are a pro. There's always room to learn a little more of the do's and don'ts of fatherhood. Andrea and TJ, are you guys ready to dig in?
Yes. Hello, everybody. I love seeing all the comments coming in. Everybody, hello to everyone. Happy Father's Day. I love this topic because I love that we have a special day for moms and dads, and I think it's really great. My dad unfortunately passed away about 10 years ago, but I still love to honor him and do fun things on this day, so I love talking about it. TJ?
Yes. Another week of amazing topics and views. We really appreciate being able to share with all of you every Sunday. And in honor of today, it's only right that we speak on fatherly experiences that we all have encountered.
Yes. Hey, Ruth.
All right, guys, we see you in the comments and we love to see you there. So, you have met a girl. She's pretty, she's smart, she's financially stable, but she has kids and you have none. That's a big step to take. Becoming a step parent, it will test everything you have sometimes. I'm not necessarily a step parent, but I am a parent that took over somebody else's parental roles. So it's a difficult situation on all ends, and it's a lot to work through. So do you feel there's always a few things that you need to take into consideration when you're stepping into that stepfather, becoming the stepfather role? There's 3 questions that I kind of always like to ask. Are you only there for her? Are you only there for the mom? If your answer is yes, walk away, please, because these kids that you're walking into are super, super important also. And that's what makes you the stepdad. Just being there for the mom will not make you a stepdad. It'll make you a burden to her, and it'll make you somebody not to look up to for them. And it becomes a burden on you then in that situation. The second one is, do you feel the need to constantly get away from the situation? You're with the kids, you're with the girlfriend, the fiance, and you just feel like you need to get away constantly? If that answer is yes, look at yourself and do you love them and do you love her, and are you willing to work on yourself and be that father figure and somebody for them to look up to, somebody that your future wife can count on when times get hard and she needs somebody to step up, and then you can say, yes, I'm proud to be their stepdad. That's something that kids really, really love. And we can't have fathers if we don't have children. So we're going to focus a lot of this episode on kids also. Can you remember the good times over the hard times? If you can answer yes to that, then stay. Open up your heart and really, really, truly work on that person you're trying to become. Remember that times are not always going to be difficult, and times are not always going to be hard, and they're not always going to be frustrating, but those times are going to be there, and you need to be willing to look past the hard times and remember all of the good memories that you're going to make together. What is your thought on this? I know I've never been in that step parent role. I've only been in that adoptive parent role.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I haven't either, actually, surprisingly enough, since I've been divorced and just been dating. I haven't actually, I was with a guy that had a daughter, but she was already older and kind of moved on a little bit. So I didn't have to worry about that. It was just more about meeting her. But I think that it's so important to make sure that when you are blending families, that you are thinking about all of the things that you said there. And it really comes down to respect at the end of the day, like true, genuine, real respect for not only the partner, but for also the kids, because that's how you're going to, I don't want to say win them over, but that's how you guys are going to become that blended family. you know? So I think when you are entering into their routines, their softball games, football games, whatever it is you're doing, plus all the past dynamics, you have to be ready for all of it. So it's really important to take your time and just let things unfold naturally. I think that's super important, not to be pushing things and rushing. Hey, talk to me, tell me things, you know? You just got to let them come to you and feel like things are happening a lot more naturally. So you also want to make sure that you are showing up consistently. And that kind of goes back to what you were saying, Mia. You don't want to just show up if you're not there for a while. So like, don't rush to meet the kids and do things with the kids. And I actually get that sometimes, like, you know, guys are like, oh, I want to meet your kids. My kids are older. They're in their 20s. And I'm still like, I'm fine, you know, because I don't want to continually bring somebody new into their lives. It's bad enough that, like, I think I mentioned this before, I was perpetually dating for a while. So my kids were like, it was like a revolving door. And so now that I've settled down, I just want it to be like a healthy relationship and for them to feel like, oh, this is somebody who could potentially be a good partner for my mom. I'm never going to call him dad, but, you know, but I think that they're looking forward to that. So you just want to find the mutual respect, because that's going to create a smoother, more peaceful transition for everyone.
I know you mentioned blended families, and I talked about in the beginning just walking in and not having kids. So you've mentioned blended families. I want to bring up, it is so important when you are blending families that you take both sides and you look at both sides of your kids, your personal children that you've had with another woman and the children that you're going to marry into, and you take all of their feelings into consideration. Sometimes it's 2 because you each have 1. Sometimes it's 4 because you each have 2. But you need to take all of their feelings into consideration in this too. And remember that it's not always going to be easy, and that, you know, these kids aren't always going to get along, but creating environments where there's no hostility between the parents and co-parenting good together will make that transition for these children so much easier.
Yeah, definitely.
I believe there are many things that we tend to hit on every week, you know, but I believe there's one thing that always comes to fruition. At the top of my list is the establishment of clear communication and boundaries. With blending families, I believe this is key, whether it's making awareness on how the household should function, or just having a mutual understanding of the flow with co-parenting. For the man's point of view, I believe that, you know, this helps us understand the climate of our significant others' relationships and allows us to, you know, further assess our relationships.
Yep, I completely agree with that. I think it's just hard all around, and I think you touched on some great words. Mia's favorite word is communication. We know she loves that, and that's a big one. And boundaries, and just really respecting each other and finding that common ground. And if you don't think it's something that can work, like, I can give a quick example of a guy that I dated, and I was super into him, and hopefully he's not watching, but
that would be perfect.
He brought his kid on, like, to do a FaceTime with me for the first time, and I was all excited, and he came on and his hair was all disheveled, like he had just rolled out of bed, and there was mismatched clothes.
He probably did.
I know, and he was like 14, and I was like, oh, he's so cute, you know. You couldn't know what to say. And then he had this thing where at 14 he wanted to, like, rub his head to go to sleep, and he had to, like, sneak out of the room. I know. And the kid was 14, and he would rub his head and then sneak out of the room. And I knew that would never work for me, because I'd be like, grow the fuck up, come on. It was just not going to work for me. So I'm trying not to be rude about it, but I recognized early on that just was not a good match, because I was not going to be okay with that. And so I
love that you brought that up, because we don't want to create bad habits with these kids. We don't want to make them, we don't want to buy them gifts to make them love us.
Nope.
Because that is just buying love, and it's not something that works with kids. It's going to work for a period of time, and they're going to get frustrated when you say no. And then they're going to say, I hate you. So don't create bad habits when you're establishing these relationships with these children.
Well, then I gotta ask, what should a man really do? It's tough for us. We want to please our woman, but we also want to make establishing relationship with our children. How far is too far for you guys?
I think the most important thing when creating a relationship with as a child is time. Spending time with that child, listening to that child, finding out what that child likes, what that child dislikes, and truly listening. I say listening because that's part of communication. And yes, that's my favorite word. We don't always need to speak to children. What we really truly need to do more is listen.
Yep.
And when we listen, they'll understand us better because we'll learn how to speak to them better. We'll learn their quirks and, their likes and their dislikes, and not monetary likes and dislikes, not gift likes and dislikes. What's their favorite color? So when you get flowers for them on Valentine's Day, when you buy flowers for mom, you're going to buy a flower that they're going to like, and mom's going to get the flowers that she likes because you've listened to her also and found out, her favorite color is pink, but her child's favorite color is purple. So you're not buying pink flowers for both. And they're going to notice that you listened and you understood and you stepped up and you've become that step parent role model. And that's exactly what a step parent is. It's somebody that comes into a child's life and steps up and shows them what an adult is supposed to be, how they are supposed to be treated, and how to love one another.
Yep. Hello, Brady Bunch.
So I'm gonna ask, when is the real, key age to actually listen to children? Are we listening to the 4 and 5 year olds? Are we waiting until they actually can formulate a word? When are we actually listening to them?
Well, that can get a little tricky because I think, you listen to a 4 or 5 year old, with exceptions. I mean, I'm not going to take advice from my 4 to 5 year old or another 4 to 5 year old. But once they get older and you're starting to have those conversations, I mean, that's, where you really want to listen and pay attention to what they're needing. And that's how you're going to build that bond. I think when they're 4 or 5, they're testing you. Well, they're always testing you. I will say that.
Anything lower than 5, I think you need to get on their level. Get down on the floor and roll the ball back and forth. That's spending time with them. You'll find out which toys are their favorite toys, and you'll be able to pick those up and come in and play with them while mom's making dinner, or while she's cleaning up to get ready to take the kids out with you guys. And believe me, being a step parent is hard, but you also need to make time for mom. Make time for mom, help find the babysitter once you're established in that relationship. Because if you're meeting these kids, it's 6 months down the road where you've established a relationship with mom. You knew there were kids around already. And then you're stepping in, 6 months later. Don't meet these kids right away. Don't bond with these kids and then decide that, hey, this isn't for me, and just walk away.
Do you think a lot of people do that, Mia, to kind of get themselves in the door with someone? Oh, your kid loves me, so you should love me too.
Right. I think that happens sometimes. I won't say that it happens all the time because I don't want to scare women. And I don't want to scare men away from that situation either. I mean, I fell fast and hard, but there were no kids involved.
Yeah.
Say something happens and I end up going and looking for another relationship. Will I ever introduce my kids? Not if I fall fast and hard again.
Yeah.
I won't do it because it's not something that's healthy for them.
Yeah.
And if these are little babies or, under 4 years old, there's a lot they're not going to remember, but there's a lot these little kids will remember for a long, long time.
Yes. And how would you feel about entering into a new relationship with somebody that has kids?
How would I feel? To be honest with you, I'm 41 years old. Mm-hmm. I don't the only way I would ever get into another relationship is something tragic happens to my husband. So I don't like to think about it, but at my age, and my youngest being 11 and my oldest being 24, I don't think that I would enter a relationship with somebody that has young children. I am at a point in my life where I know that I'm not going to be the best mom to a toddler because I'm not going to be able to keep up with them. I know that I'm a busy person and I'm not going to have time for a 7 or 8 year old that's going out and playing games for Little League and stuff. I'm not going to have time to do those things. And those are things that were important to me with my own children. So I would not want to take that mother aspect away from that situation. So I would never, ever, and I'm saying tragic, because it would never happen otherwise.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think I could ever get into a relationship with someone young without having my own kids. For everyone that has, in the comments, wished me a happy Father's Day. Unfortunately, I'm not a dad, but my girlfriend does call me daddy. Just kidding. So I'll accept that one. But honestly, I don't think I could get into a relationship with anyone that has kids, just because solely I wouldn't know how to, truly love them. I think I've heard the expression, you never truly know love unless you love your kids. And I think in order for me to, be able to spread my love generously to someone else's children, I will have to know how to love my own first. And it's really scary for me just getting to a relationship with someone that has kids, because I always think of stepbrothers. I'm not going to call him daddy, but I'm always like, how can I get through this kid that already has an established mindset from another man? How can I truly be one with this person? I'm fearful of it all.
But that's good that you know that about yourself, because some men don't recognize that. And then they happen to step into that situation and create these relationships with these kids and these women, and then decide, well, I thought I liked kids, but I found out I don't. I love her, so I'm going to stick around. So they're not that active stepfather, that active father figure that we celebrate every year on Father's Day. And it's important to be that active father figure in order to be called a stepdad, because I've met men that are in relationships with women that are just truly in it for the woman and not the children. And it's devastating for the kids. It's truly devastating for the kids. So it's so important that we look at the whole entire situation.
Absolutely. I love what you had to say, Daddy.
I love what you had to say, Daddy.
So good.
There you go. Absolutely.
Captain Wagon, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, brother.
Yeah, we don't support that, but you have a wonderful day.
I appreciate you all, standing behind me and, wishing me this great Father's Day. But let me make it clear, I'm TJ, not AJ.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
All right, so let's move on a little bit and let's talk about boundaries. TJ, I know that we didn't get the best dads out there, and that's okay, but let's talk about boundaries that we can create. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to speak for the men here, and I'm going to say, most times, depending on who we are raised by, we can tend to lack emotional intelligence. I can truly admit to that. But we make up for it, I believe, in being, great listeners and critical thinkers. Time is really of the essence for us. We counter that by, living every moment as if we won't be able to do it again, which is why men usually find themselves walking on on the tightrope between love and anger. Some men tend to overstep boundaries and lose everything by testing the waters too far. They may lose a wife or a girlfriend, and even a family, or their home, their car. There are many things that are of a value to us that we might lose. As a man, I feel we need to learn to respect boundaries in our relationship and proceed with caution to these things that may bring strife, because it could bring strife in our life. Everything has a limit. My advice is be very analytical. I want to say, imagine life as the game of Jenga. I love going off of this because, every little piece is very important to the entire build, but you can always pull one piece off and bring it to the top and make that add more value to that. But if we don't strategically commit to a method, everything could come tumbling down. And I'd say to you guys, learn to balance those pieces in life that mean everything to you, honestly.
Great metaphor.
Absolutely. I think creating boundaries is important with not only the mom, but within yourself when it comes to the kids. There's going to be times when these kids and even mom are going to be like, okay, we can't handle you right now because we've been happy in this situation and we just need you to step back. And that's her creating that boundary, but saying, hey, we just need you to step back. We still love you. We still want you here, but I need to handle this situation the way we've handled it in the past. So that's her creating that boundary there. And then you can create boundaries and be like, hey, they did X, Y, and Z, and that's going to be mom that handles that. But once they start talking back, you also need to create that boundary and be like, okay, hey, you need to respect your mom, but you need to do it respectfully. You don't need to be like, hey, you can't talk to your mom like that because that's disrespectful. No. Or please do not cuss at these children. I am big at it because that is like my love language right there. I try not to say too much on this show. So I think that it's important.
I think it's better to teach them young, honestly.
Well, no, I agree. I don't say yourself all the time because we always need to expose our children to the things that happen in this world. And we don't want our 14-year-old to walk out of the house one day and hear the word fuck in front of their friends and go, oh my gosh, they said a cuss word, because you know how embarrassing that is for a 14-year-old?
Yeah.
That is incredibly embarrassing. Okay, we have a question in the comments that I really, really want to answer because we've been talking a whole lot and we haven't really touched on these comments. So,
Nelson?
Yeah, Nelson, that's what we're going to say. What do you think is more important, trust or loyalty? Neither are more important. In order to have trust, you have to have loyalty. And in order to have loyalty, you have to have trust. If you can't trust somebody, they'll never be loyal to you in your mind. Whether they are truthfully or not, if you don't trust them, they will never be loyal in your mind. Yep. So having trust and loyalty together is more important. And the best solution for trust and loyalty is open communication. Communicate when you're angry, communicate when you're happy, communicate when you're sad, and communicate when you're angry. I'm going to say that again because it is so important to never walk away angry. If you're upset about something, tell them. Do not hold it in because it just builds untrust in your mind.
Yeah.
Because you're going to keep playing that over and over. Why didn't I say something? Now it's too late. I can't say something. It's never too late. If you didn't say something and it's 3 or 4 days later, you can say, hey, the other day, when this happened, we'll use the kids as an example. When Joey talked back to you, I felt it was disrespectful and you just allowed it to happen. Even if it's 3 days later, still tell her about that. It's important to have that open, honest communication, honesty goes hand in hand with trust and loyalty.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more.
I got a quick question, about what you just said, Mia. Is it wrong for a man in that situation to correct that child?
Respectfully, the way to correct a child respectfully when they are disrespecting somebody else is getting on their level and explaining to them, how would you feel if I were to walk up to you and say the same thing that you just said to this person? How would you feel? And this is gentle parenting. It's something that I'm not familiar with. It's something I hear about all the time, but I know it's more gentle than going up and saying, hey, shut your mouth. Don't talk to your mom like that. Because telling a kid to shut their mouth, not talk to their mom like that is just going to pop back with some attitude. You're not my dad. You can't tell me what to do. You've only been around so long and you're going to disappear. You're not going to stick around.
I think it's really hard, Mia, right now, because we're in this era where everyone's afraid to kind of do certain things, right? We're afraid to chastise our child. We're afraid to spank a child. We're afraid to do all those things. When I'm 50. So when I was young, I got spanked. That was like a normal thing. And it made sense. And now I know that, we don't want that happening these days. It's looked at totally different, but there is a way to chastise and talk to someone and make the child understand we cannot be afraid to parent these children.
No.
Even though the times have changed and things are looked at so differently, we still have to be who we are, and we're trying to raise good adults here. And so we have to remember that.
Right. So you're in this stepdad role. You're noticing this disrespect. You and mom have already sat down and talked about those boundaries. You've already explained to her that you're not going to allow disrespect in your household. At this point, you guys are pretty much living together, if not already are living together. So, you've created probably 3 or 4 months of a relationship with this child. Mm-hmm. You've learned their quirks, you've learned their likes, you've learned their dislikes. You know what upsets them and what makes them happy. So knowing all of those things and not allowing the disrespect in the household is okay. And coming out and saying, hey, it's not okay to speak to your mom like that. It's not okay to disrespect your mom. We respect your boundaries. You need to respect ours also. Mm-hmm. And this is something that some kids are not taught and that may need to be retaught. That, everybody has their own boundaries, and we should be teaching our kids that too. Allowing our children to speak up for themselves is not disrespect. That is 100% not disrespect, because if we're not allowing them to speak up for themselves, we are raising robots. Yeah. We are raising children that are just going to fall in line and they're not going to be leaders. So it's important to let them voice their opinions too, as long as they're doing it respectively. Right. And having 2 parents there, mom, stepdad, it's better for you guys to be on the same level and already have that communication and boundary set before you meet the kids, before you step into that stepdad situation. Because even if your boyfriend, they're still looking at you. They're still seeing how you're treating mom and how you're treating them. So once you step in and meet those kids, you're in that stepdad role. Mm-hmm. They're already looking up to you and saying, hey, you love my mom. What can you do for us and make us a family?
Right. Yep.
I always love the proud moments of that.
1 second, because I have a quick question I do need to answer, because I think it's important that we answer this one. Rena asks, are you guys relationship therapists because you are so good at handling relationship talks? None of us are certified relationship therapists. I am 41 years old. I've been married to somebody for 24 years. I've been in the ups and the downs. I've been in that D word situation where I thought it was going to happen. So I've just been there, done that. And I've met some really amazing co-hosts that have been there, done that also. So we are not certified therapists. We're just here to give our advice from... Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I am not a certified relationship therapist, but I do have my own relationship podcast called From Mrs. to Ms. that I have been speaking on relationships for over 2 years now with over 150,000 downloads. So go check it out. Somebody's listening out there. So that's where a lot of that information is coming from. And I do interview and work with a ton of therapists and sexperts and coaches and divorce attorneys and everything. So the information that we're gathering and giving to you guys is stuff from our own anecdotes, our own experiences, but also from learning along the way. So we're so glad to be able to share that with you guys.
I feel like it's only right that I answer. I am not a relationship therapist.
Come on, Daddy.
I am probably just like you guys out there, still young. I'm only in my 20s here, just a year about to be out of it. But I'm pretty much just learning as I've gone through life. And I'm pretty much just giving you iterations of what I've learned as I've gone through these things.
But the three of us together, boom.
Thank you so much, Rena. Thank you guys for complimenting us. We really, truly appreciate it. We love that you guys are here watching. But we do have a poll that we would love for you to answer. So once that pops up on the screen, go ahead and answer that poll for us. But we'll continue speaking until it pops up.
Yes. And make sure you guys write out the entire answer.
Yes, write out the entire answer so we can find out, and then we'll discuss it a little later.
Yeah. And there are so many great questions that we're seeing, you guys, regarding relationships. And we are really focusing more today on the father-children relationship to kind of, because it is Father's Day and we're honoring that. But we do want to, get to all your questions. If we don't get them today, please make sure you guys come back. Every week we're talking about relationships. So write down your questions and bring them back next week. And we hope to be able to get to all of it.
Yes.
Good morning. We just changed our Southwest flight to stay an extra day. Didn't have to pay a fee.
Beautiful. Our kids won't miss us. They're in Mima.
Mima.
We're in love! Again!
Change your flight without a fee. That's a big flex.
Woo. Okay.
Interesting question.
I'm going to touch on this a little one because, I mean, TJ's in a relationship and Mia, you are way in a relationship. So I'm going to touch base on the dating side. I'm really shocked. I'm not shocked about Netflix and chill. That's at 0%. I'm giving a thumbs up to everybody. Good job on that. But coffee shop, I'm surprised that's so little. And I say that only because there's so many things to think about. I mean, of course, we all love a fancy dinner. We want to get taken out to a fancy dinner, especially being the woman. You know, you get treated to a nice dinner. But you are then stuck. You are, and I've done this, you know, I would go on the nice dates, the nice dinner dates. And then what happens real quick when you guys are not compatible or there's a lot of lull time. And then all of a sudden I've had this and I'm sitting there and I'm ready to go. And then they come around and he orders another glass of wine and you're like, shit, I thought I was out of here, you know? And then you feel, I mean, personally, I feel a little bad then because dating is expensive. It's expensive for the men. And we love as a woman when a man is chivalrous and is paying for the date. And so I don't want to be, like taking that for granted and, you know, all of those things. So I feel really bad. Coffee dates to me are perfect. Or like,
no
coffee?
You are not allowed to feel bad.
Oh, you're like, go back.
You are not allowed to feel bad because either there is a vibe there and there is good communication or there is not, and it is not your fault.
It's not your fault. You're right.
It's not
your
fault either because it's chemistry. And if you guys are not compatible in every way, then it's not worth it. So yes, you may have had to pay for a fancy dinner, but you've learned if you like this person or not.
That's true. That's true. And they choose to pay for that. And they choose to invite you to dinner.
They chose the restaurant. They decided to go out. They didn't have to.
Yes.
It's not like you were holding anything to them saying, hey, take me out.
I just know for me, if I'm asked about like what I would like to do for the first date, I would usually say, oh, let's grab a cup of coffee or go just have a drink and like an appetizer at the bar. I think sitting at the bar is sexy. You sit at the bar with the guy and you get a drink and you have an appetizer. It's a different vibe than it is at a dinner. And it kind of puts you in a spot where you can have one drink and be like, well, it was really great to meet you. You know, I got to run, but let's chat. And then that gives you an opportunity to think about it or decide if you're going to text and say, hey, I had a really great time with you tonight, but I just didn't feel that chemistry or the compatibility. And I wish you the best of luck. So when you're stuck in a 2-hour dinner, you are setting yourself up a little bit. So I might rethink that one a little bit. And adventure dates are good too, but maybe not a hike on the first date. I ain't getting pushed out.
Yeah, definitely not a Netflix and chill. But if you're in an established relationship, Netflix and chill is a perfect
is where it's at.
You put them kiddos to bed and mom and dad get to have some fun.
I got to really quickly.
Created before Hulu and all the others came out. Must have been. Go ahead, TJ.
I gotta laugh really quickly because most of you are willing to, you know, go on this adventure activity and just embarrass yourselves. What if it's like rock climbing or something like that, and you know, you get stuck on the rope? You guys are bold out there. I love it.
Yeah.
But I definitely am in agreement with Andrea here on the coffee shop because I think a fancy dinner is way too intimate. You know, it's just you and I sitting there, you know, staring at each other eye to eye. Rather in a coffee shop, there's a lot going on. I can glance at the lady ordering her coffee, maybe what bagel I want, but you guys want to be staring right into my eyes and knowing deeply what I'm thinking. Okay. And definitely not Netflix and chill because there's no talking involved. I mean,
no, I don't think there is.
Unless you're going for a one-night stand, I say no to that.
No, I talk a lot during movies because I don't pay attention enough, so I gotta ask questions. But I do I have to address Madison. Don't nix the hike yet because you can hike to see the sunrise and you can hike to see the sunset when you're on the East Coast.
Yeah, it's just a little too risky being alone with somebody you don't even know, going on a hike. I know there's a lot of people traveling around and walking, but sometimes there aren't. And that would scare me, just being kind of alone on a mountain with somebody that I don't know if he's.
Oh, I thought we were past the first dates. I thought we were established.
No, I think we're talking about.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, I think it's
I'm still on the first date.
Yeah, we're still on the
Oh,
first date. Definitely no Netflix and chill, because no. That's got to wait. That's for another topic. Sex on
Yeah, that's like fourth date when I feel a little more comfortable with you. I now know maybe your cousin that likes to go to the bar that I go to. But other than that, I am not doing a Netflix and chill at your house, Jeffrey Dahmer. Calm down.
All right, guys, let's get back to our dads. Let's get back into this.
Yes.
TJ, you're up.
Awesome. We are now going into a little bit about co-parenting. And I want to say co-parenting can be quite distasteful to some people, and if not mostly everyone. And this is because there's usually some sort of disagreement that has occurred between the two parties that caused them to separate in such critical circumstances, the development of a child. You know, I was a child of co-parenting. Luckily, I never saw any of the bad side, but growing up, I did know that there were the two sides to my family. I saw both sides, and both sides cared and loved for me just the same. For the men out there, I want to say that are co-parenting, I want you to know that you are strong and your resilience is very admirable. Please keep your heads high and don't shy away from expressing your feelings. Try not to get aggressive, but remember to allow the governing of someone else's home to remain in their home, not yours. How your family functions in your house shouldn't be how their family function in their house. And then I had a little quick Reddit about this. Love to show you guys.
Co-parenting is important, but I know sometimes it can be difficult because the other parent is not very co-parenting able.
That makes it tough.
It does. It makes it really tough. So when you have a co-parent that is not co-parenting able, it's important to remember that we don't always have to discuss those co-parenting moments with them. I'm going to go ahead and read the Reddit. Let's see. Here it is. So this person has noticed that they are still attached. It says, I still have feelings for my ex, so we are minimal contact at my request. Basically, by keeping all communication strictly to the kids, keeping each other's personal lives out of it as much as possible. Can anyone think of any reason why this wouldn't work or cause issues? I think this is very big of him to come out and say, hey, you know, I still have feelings for you. I know I'm not going to be a good co-parent. We're going to have minimal contact, and we're going to parent these kids with possibly, if court's involved and he's asked for minimal contact, then they'll give an app. Or maybe they'll set you up with a mediator, and that will help you with co-parenting. You'll communicate through the app only. There's no emailing. There's no saying bad things about each other when the kids are over. There's no saying bad things about each other to each other's friends that are mutual. We want to keep our personal co-parenting problems personal. We don't need the whole entire world to figure those out, because if the world knows, the kids know. And then it causes strife between you and the other co-parents, because the kids are telling each parent because they love each parent. So it's important when we're co-parenting, we're taking those kids into consideration. It is, yes. Precious Deborah says, oh my God, yes, emotional safety is underrated. Emotional safety is super important. And the reason I read that comment is because I've never heard it that way. But I love that, and I'm going to use it all the time now. So thank you. Emotional safety with children is super, super important. Making them feel heard, feel wanted, and feel loved is that creating that emotional safety. And that's allowing them to grow as a person, to be a good human being in the future.
I think it's really, it was really sad actually to hear that Reddit, to be honest, because here's a man that still has feelings for her. And I love that he's trying to put his kids and where they're at in their relationship above his own feelings. I think that is super admirable. And I love that he's doing that, but it also just makes me sad. I think that it's really important for everybody to remember why you guys came together in the first place and everything, I've said this before. I think I was married for 20 years, and just because I wasn't in love with my ex-husband anymore, we had 2 beautiful kids together. We loved each other at one time. We shared such a life together, so many years. He and I are still the best of friends. We talk to each other about like, how's it going with your dating? How's this going? My kids are grown now, but we make every effort to make everything normal between us. We still celebrate some holidays together. He might bring a girlfriend. I might bring a boyfriend. And some people really frown at us for this. They like, yes, his ex-girlfriend had a hard time with it. And, she didn't understand that relationship, the dynamic between us, because she didn't experience it with her ex. So her kids are suffering because of that relationship there. And so it's really, really hard. And I just look at it like, how amazing that he and I are still the best of friends, and we can have these kids together and we can raise these kids, and our kids still see this normalcy amongst us, even amongst the chaos. And I think it's most important.
I do want to answer another one that I think is important. Sam Steven asked, who do you think the kids might love the most between both parents?
Ooh.
I'm so glad that you asked that question, because it's going to be neither. They're not going to love one more than the other. They're going to love some things about one parent more than the things that they like about the other parent, but that makes up for the things they love about you more than they love about mom. So it's not necessarily that you love one parent more. Maybe you're the fun, adventurous dad, so they love being with you on the weekends to be able to go out and do those fun, adventurous things. But mom's the fun, crafty mom, so when it comes to doing crafts and stuff, they want to be with her when she's going to the craft show or going to the craft store.
And that's okay.
Right. So it's not necessarily that they love her more or they love you more. It's they love different aspects of each one of you differently. Yep. There's never going to be more. A child can love so much because they haven't been burdened by everything that us adults have. So they don't think about those little tiny things that irritate us. Like, oh my gosh, she said this about me. So, and the kids heard it. They're not going to think about that because you're the fun, adventurous dad. Sometimes we are put in a situation where the other co-parent is toxic and they say bad things about us. But we just have to remember when those kids come to our house and they're at dad's house, they're doing fun things with dad and they're going to remember those more than the bad things that she's saying about you.
Yeah.
Kids remember fun, adventure, and love more than they remember toxicity when they get older. Trust me.
I'm going to be honest here. I think I love what you said here, Mia, but I also think that one thing that will really make them love you more is our key word here is communication. Someone that can actually, relay a proper answer to them and, give them a better understanding of what's going on. If you are, angry with every answer to their every move, that's not going to make them love you any more than the other parent. The other parent is very soft and, understanding and listening, hearing every word they have to say before answering. That parent is going to be the one they love more because they're going to feel more comfortable to express things with them more. That's where you're going to find the parent that they love more.
If you're the toxic person and you're putting the toxicity into the situation,
Yeah.
yes, it is definitely going to feel like that child loves you less. But you have to remember, children love their parents regardless of how they're treated, until they are taught that it's okay not to love them.
Yep.
Correct.
Great points, you guys.
Yes, absolutely.
I had to look to my friends also for a little bit of answering about this, because they do experience a lot of co-parenting here. And I had one friend that said, it's hard as a man to at first, but you got to set boundaries and standards of expectation. That's one that I didn't think of very much. He said it's something that can deter conflicts and set boundaries on differences and establish healthy communication.
Yeah. There's that word again.
It's my favorite word. So communicate. If you don't like something, tell them. If you love it, tell them.
Yes.
If it makes you a little sad, tell them. If it makes you excited, tell them. If it makes you angry, and I keep going back to that, tell them, please. John said, and I have to read it, I'm so sorry. True love isn't about perfection. It's about growing together through every imperfection. Yes. And that is why I am still married 24 years later. When we thought it was the hardest is when we worked through it the hardest. And sometimes it doesn't work out. And I will say that. I tell my kids all the time, just because me and your dad are still together doesn't mean you're going to be with the first person you marry or the first relationship you create for the rest of your life. So remember that, guys. Just because you fall in love with somebody, you can fall out of love with them. And it's okay that you fall out of love with them. Because sometimes people are meant to be in our life for a short time. Some people are meant to be in our life for a long time, and others are meant to be in our life for a lifetime.
Reason, season, lifetime.
Yes, absolutely.
Woo, this is good stuff. I like it.
Yes. Okay, so Joshua Abba says, to be honest here, it's hard to establish a good parenting communication and communicate between a co-parent and stepkids. It can be difficult, especially if it's a newer relationship. If you're still having difficulty years later, the boundaries weren't created in the beginning, and maybe you need to talk about boundaries now. Creating a good communication is also listening. So maybe step back and listen for a second. And I'm not saying that you're not doing that at all, but step back and listen for a second and hear everybody's opinion, not just your own, and then take them all into consideration.
And I'm gonna be honest, sometimes it's not us men, Josh.
No.
It's a lot of, not a lot of times, but it can be the women. They can hold a grudge against.
No, hold on. I'm gonna stop you right there.
Oh.
I will be completely honest with you. I do not know the statistics, but a bitter baby mama is probably more likely than a bitter baby daddy. And I am a woman, and I will say that 100%, because women fall in love, and they fall in love hard. And when they fall in love hard, they are not willing to give that up. And when he comes in, creates this, and she falls in love hard, and I'm not saying it's the man's fault, it's just how we naturally are. When we fall in love hard.
And
so
when you fall out of love, you're done.
When we fall out of love, we become vindictive sometimes, though.
Yes.
Because it hurts. And sometimes men do too, but it's more likely for a woman to become vindictive, because he leaves, he finds another relationship, because men have an easier time to do that, because they don't fall hard, they fall long. So it takes them a long time to fall in love. Yes, some men can fall in love right away, but it's how you communicate, it's how she is treating you is how you fall in love. It's not necessarily, that's lust when you fall in love hard. It truly is lust when you fall in love hard because you're attracted to the person. You're not attracted to the personality.
You got, yeah, especially when you when you were Netflixing and chilling,
right?
That's exactly what happens, which is why they often say that for you to take your time and get to know somebody. You don't truly know somebody until at least 6 to 8 months in a relationship. You do not know that person. So take your time. I'm not saying to wait 6 or 8 months, but once you do have intercourse with somebody, for a woman, that starts our serotonin. We get that kick and we all of a sudden now we have feelings. And so it is different between women and men. So it's a really big thing to remember. But you're right, Mia, men do stay in it longer because once you hook them or whatever,
once you got that good and
they're in, so
they're sticking around because it's hard for them to go out and meet other people.
Yes.
So and I'm gonna say this and you guys are probably gonna murder me in the comments. I have to say
no, you're doing well so far.
I lost my train of thought because I had to sneeze. Go ahead, somebody else take it.
Okay, what's the biggest green flag in a relationship for y'all? Julie's question just popped up. For me, it's got to be the trust, loyalty, and honesty right there. That's huge when somebody communicates again, and you have somebody that's got your back. That is such a green flag to move forward. And I love you asking that, Julie, because everybody always wants to know the biggest red flags. And I love to talk about the green flags because we have to acknowledge and recognize those flags as well when they are shown, and people should be credited for it. They're good things that they do. We're always looking for the bad. So I thank you for asking that question. That's my biggest green flag.
Andrea, what's your biggest green flag for co-parenting here?
Ooh, for co-parenting, the biggest green flag, again, is communication. Now, it's two people that are willing to work together to make what's best for the child, and they're putting their children above themselves. That's where you have to stop and go. When you have all the parents that are going at it head to head all the time, the constant conflict and bicker because of the situations that's happening, if they stop and take a moment and say, maybe just like the guy that said, hey, I need to take a step back, because a lot of times that is just feelings and everything going on that's making you have these angry moments. You got to take a step back and look at the big picture and say, how can I make this the best situation for these young kids that didn't ask for us to not be together, that didn't ask for this type of situation to happen in their lives? What can I do best for them? So again, it's just working things out amongst the two parents.
Yeah, I think my biggest green flag is very much like Madison said here in the conversation, in our comments, is transparency. Someone that can be very transparent with each other, letting them know that this is what I'm going to do, and if you don't agree with it, speak up and let me know how you feel about it. Because I don't think we can move forward with if there's a lot of things that are in the way, and we're not clearly communicating how we feel and what's going on.
Yes, absolutely. And Precious Deborah just said, so basically therapy is the third person in every healthy couple. And you did put an LOL on it because it is, it is a funny thing to say, but I'm a big proponent for therapy. I think it's great to have somebody to talk to get your feelings out with. If you can't communicate with your co-parenting or somebody else within your relationship, then it's okay to go get help. That's sometimes you need to hear it from a third person. Like you guys are saying in so many comments here, how hearing this is making a difference for you, and that you're going, wow, this is great because I'm really kind of understanding. That's what therapy is. It's hearing it from somebody that you don't know, that is unbiased, looking at your situation, hearing how it is and saying, this is how I can help you. And so everybody, I think, therapy is such a taboo. I'm kind of going off on this tangent here, but that therapy is such taboo, or everybody's like, oh my God, you're going to therapy. Why does that have to be a negative thing? That's a green flag if I ever seen one. Somebody who is cool enough and smart enough and honest with themselves enough to go, you know what? I need some help and I'm going to get it. I think that's hot. What do you think, TJ?
I can attest to that, and I really think that people don't really look for that type of thing when they're really looking for relationships. I think as we grow and evolve as people, we begin to understand what is best for us in relationships, and we utilize that as one of the things.
That's
I,
awesome.
I'd love to hit on this question. See what you think about it, Andrea. Rena P said, "What are some signs of emotional disconnection, and how can we rebuild closeness?"
Oh gosh, rebuilding closeness. There's so many things you can do. I'm assuming you're talking between two adults, or are we talking between adults and kids here? I'm going to go with talking between two adults, maybe that have separated. They're trying to figure out like a standard common ground that they can get to and ways that they can get better within their relationship. Again, it goes back to communication, but there's many different ways of going about that, right? You can create an email, you can create a calendar where, hey, you have them this time, I have them this time, and you work through that. You can create so many different things on the outside. I mean, we have so many things, tools at our fingertips these days to help with that kind of work to get you on a good place. And it's listening. It's being open and listening to what the other person's saying. We are always we're thinking about what we're going to say next, and we're not really listening to the person that we're talking to. And so that's where it gets super important that you take a moment and you're not being reactive. You're not being proactive, you're being reactive, right? So you're not being like, oh, I know what I want to say to you. I'm actually listening and then I'm responding. So that is really, really a huge thing.
I could say that some of the signs of emotional disconnection in today's day and age are very physical. Yeah, more than not. I mean, when you guys are just texting, if they're not responding as quick as they were when you guys were first starting out, I can tell you if their location says they're not home,
Yeah.
it's an emotional disconnection. I mean, if you can't physically be with that person and be open with that person, there is an emotional disconnect right there.
Absolutely. So it's just, yeah, communication is key, listening, being open and honest. That's going to get you everywhere.
Yeah, so we got another poll coming up for you guys. Hopefully this one's just as juicy. Here it is.
Woo! Okay, I'm going to jump on this one because I can't believe what has been our key word today, guys.
Communication.
And for the longest time, we were at 0% on direct confrontation, 0% on texted out, and everybody's saying avoid completely or the silent treatment. Yeah, Madison did jump in. Madison Portal, you jumped in with the communication, which is huge. That is huge. You can't let things build up and fester inside because it's just going to explode at one point, and you're going to have all of this stuff that comes out at some point. So maybe it's not, I don't necessarily agree with texting it out or, direct confrontation. Maybe that particular term sounded a little bit more harsh, like I'm going to come in kind of yelling, but talk it out. You have conflict. Let's take a moment. We both step back. We both take a breath. Maybe we have a glass of water. Now let's go back and revisit the situation and see if we can talk it through and come to some sort of common ground. That's what I would say.
Yes, I agree. There is no relationship without communication, obviously, but a direct confrontation does not have to be an argument. Like Andrea said, take a step back and let the room air out before you guys come back and go at it, but not really go at it, to have a civil conversation. I think one thing that may be weighing on you guys' mind is the anxiety that you guys might bear. You're bigger than the anxiety that is within you. You must be able to conversate with yourself before you conversate with the other person.
Yes. What do you think, Mia? What were your thoughts on that one?
Communication.
There's it.
Always going to be communication. I'm sorry. If you're not communicating, it's not going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Avoiding
it for kids too. And we've talked about trust a lot, but building trust with kids is important. So make sure that when you're building trust with mom, you're building trust with those kids also.
Yep. I think avoiding completely is a very difficult thing to be at that point. I love it. We are getting so many great questions and comments in here. Everybody is joining in, and I love it. And it's okay for everybody to have their own opinions and thoughts and everything. I think that's what's creating this great conversation amongst us. So thank you all for jumping in.
Yes. And speaking on a little further of what I was saying earlier, as we allow ourselves to, deal with conflict by direct confrontation, we must allow ourselves to bend but not break. We have to extend and not extenuate, and we can love but not hate. We must learn to love with our limits by embracing your capacity for love, with acknowledging and accepting your own limitations.
Yeah.
Okay, Nelson is asking, is it wrong to expect your partner to post you online?
To boast or post?
To post.
To post. Okay.
You shouldn't expect your partner to do anything.
Yeah.
Expecting something is just going to bring disappointment.
Mm-hmm. And there are things that you cannot do in a relationship. You cannot expect someone to act the way that you want them to act, say things the way you want them to say, any of that, and you cannot expect them to change. So if they choose not to post you, then they choose not to post you. And that's okay. Maybe it's their choice. Maybe they're not ready at the time to do that. Or maybe maybe you guys aren't quite in the same spot as the other person thinks. And that's okay too. And again, that creates a spot for you to have a conversation about it.
And communicate.
What's that?
Communicate, whether it be with your spouse, your kids, your business partners, your coworkers. In order for them to understand you, you have to open your mouth and speak your mind.
Yes.
And that's just plain and simple. If you keep your mouth shut and you don't communicate, nobody's going to know the true you. And you're just going to assume they do. And you're going to be offended by things that you assume.
Yep.
So there's another question in the comments that I really love, and I'd like to hear a female's perspective on this before I answer. It says, "How can I show real love to my woman?"
I think. Go ahead.
Listen. Just listen to her. Listen and act. When you act on what you listen to, communication is there because you're using your listening skills, and she's not going to be upset because you understand her by listening to her.
Mm-hmm. And your actions need to match your words. That is such a huge thing. And because if you are just, it's one thing to say all these things. I love you. Oh, I'm going to do this for you. And I would do anything for you. But if you're really not going to do it, then your words are empty. Yeah, then it's empty. What kind of trust is there if you're not going to follow through on what your actions are? So, I mean, we're not looking to say you've got to do these big grandiose actions and fabulous things for your woman or your man. Be you, but be real. And show them who you are and that you are a man or a woman of your word, because that is the sexiest thing. Someone who actually does what they mean and mean, what's that line? Says what they mean and mean what they say. That's
yes. Sometimes actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
Actions 100% speak louder than words, but your words are very, very important when it comes to any relationship.
Yeah. What would you have said, TJ?
I mean, honestly, you guys hit on the point that I was going to hit. I'd say to you, Sam Stevens, if you listen, you can find out what your woman really wants. They say it all, and they might say very little, but they'll say it all with their face, their words, their actions, everything. If you just pay close attention to your woman, I'm sure you'll figure it out. Every woman loves in their own unique way. And every person has their own unique love language that they show every day. And it's just about paying close attention to them.
And I'm going to touch on that real quick, TJ. We've touched on it in the past about the love languages. If you don't know your love languages in a relationship, I challenge you to go and do the quiz. You can find it online anywhere. There's a free love language quiz, and it's finding out whether you like physical touch, words of affirmation, gifts, acts of service, or quality time. And
or all of them.
Or all of them. Yes, yeah. And that's okay to like all of them, because when you truly love somebody, aren't you really wanting to do all of those 5 things at some point for them? So you got to look at all of them. But my point is to find out what your partner's love languages are, know your love languages, and use those to your advantage. Really work hard.
I have one more thing. Communicate your love language to each other.
Yes. Yes. I used to do that all the time when I would go. I was dating one guy that we would go out on our Wednesday night date. That's another thing, date night every week. We would go on our Wednesday night date. I created all, because I felt like I didn't really know him and I wanted to find out more about him. And so I created questions. I put them in a little baggie and we would go to dinner. And while we were waiting for our food to come, I'd have him pick out 3 questions out of the baggie, and he would have to answer those questions. So it allowed us to communicate on things you wouldn't normally talk about. You know, some of them were deep, some of them were silly. What was the favorite thing you got to do with your dad when you were young? Questions like that, things you would never ask on a normal basis. So it's finding out those little things that work for your partner, and that's where you hone in on those.
Okay, Sam Steven, with all of the heart you just wrote in that comment, tell her the same exact thing.
Read it out.
Yes.
Just tell her that same exact thing.
Yes.
I love you and I cannot lose you.
Yep.
Yes.
Love it.
What can we do to make this work?
Sam, I'll tell you to write it down too in a card. They love that. If you words in writing go a long way.
Me too. And Wizzy25, I love that statement. You just said healing before entering a relationship is underrated. A peaceful heart attracts a peaceful partner. And I saw somebody ask that in another question that we didn't quite get to, about trauma in your childhood and how that can affect your relationship. And it really goes hand in hand with what we're talking about today on our conversation about Father's Day. Yeah, work on healing yourself. And it goes back to the therapy or talking to someone, or, you know, just doing your own personal work. There are so many books out there now for self-help and figuring out how to make yourself a stronger person for your partner, because you can't love someone else until you love yourself. That's it. That's all I got to say.
I like this. Witty says it's not always about finding the right person. Sometimes it's about becoming the right one.
Beautiful.
So when you're doing all this communicating, make sure you're looking at yourself and you're pouring out what you want in.
I say my mother always taught me, treat people how you wanted to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely.
Love someone how you want to be loved. And if you don't got any good love to go out there, don't spread it.
Right.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Well, guys, this week has been absolutely amazing. Happy Father's Day once again. And I'm so sorry that we have to go, but we will be back next week. And we will touch on all of these love questions. We're going to go through and we're going to look at some of them again. I know I will. I will hit that YouTube and I will hit that Twitch and I will rewatch it and I will look at some of these and we're going to pull them out and we're going to answer them next week.
Yes. I love it. You guys had wonderful questions today. We appreciate you trusting us with our answers and our responses, and that you are finding them to be effective in your lives. And hopefully they will help you in your relationships going forward. So thank you guys so much, so much.
See you guys next week.
9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sundays, where you see us now. Bye, guys. Until next time.
Are you someone that sleeps? Our studies show you likely are. Designed for side sleepers straight out of the box, the Pillow Fight Haymaker Loft can be adjusted for back or stomach sleepers in mere seconds. Look at your current pillow. Face it, it's nasty. Our competition uses these cheap blobs of foam that just aren't comfortable or supportive. Pillow Fight's proprietary noodle-shaped foam blend rebounds quickly for maximum cool, comfort, and support. Oh yeah. Our naturally cooling cover will have you dreaming in no time. Handmade in the USA. Pillow Fight. Invest in your rest.
Found in the light of day. The violin sings as the credits roll. A melody soft, it soothes the soul. Tangled heartstrings